And it was just like, it was amazing to see how quickly she was able to open up to us.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by that.
I mean, you could tell that all of this stuff was just what she was like bottling up inside. You know?
Yeah.
And she just needed to get it out. She had been recently kicked out of a shelter. So that's why she was living on the streets. And I remember at the very end of the conversation, she was like, wow, it feels really good to be treated like a human being today.
People of Christ in the City, people everywhere around the world, this is David Christopher Pacheco.
Hi, my name is Kimmy.
My name is Arthur Ortiz. Been in Denver since 1973.
Okay, so let's just talk in circles for a little bit.
Just talk in circles, just shoot the breeze a little.
You know, they see beyond what I look like. They see what my actions are and say, hey, that is a good person.
A lot of people say home is where the heart is, but my heart's in many places. It's just I don't know where home is.
Welcome back to Homeless But Human. Here with you today is Blake, and we are having a Philly special. Recording a podcast with two of our missionaries here in Philadelphia, John and Allison. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks, Blake.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Great experience.
So, John and Allison, let's hear a little intro. Who are you? Where you're from? First year, second year missionary, and maybe a little bit of how you got here.
Like Blake said, I'm Allison, and I am actually from the suburbs of Philadelphia. So,
are you the only local?
Yeah, I'm the only one from Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yeah, which is kind of hype. It's a running joke that everybody thinks that I know everything about Philadelphia. I know almost nothing about Philadelphia.
Suburbs are spread out here.
Oh, yeah. And we rarely came into the city, but I love being here now. So, kind of like doing mission in my backyard, which is fun. But yeah, I'm a first year, and it's funny, I feel like my story is kind of unique because I found Christ in the City through Google.
Well, you do work in media.
That's true. That's true.
You only did here a lot before coming here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked for a year as a digital marketing specialist before I came here for a games company. And I was just looking for opportunities to serve the homeless in the city because I had done some similar ministries in college with the St. Vincent de Paul Society. And I was just wanted to volunteer first. And this was like the first year that Christ in the City came to Philadelphia. So this was last year. And I just Googled homeless ministry in Philadelphia. And I found Christ in the City. Yeah. Came to a street ministry training, did a street walk on a Friday night, and applied. And here we are.
Digital marketing specialist, getting won over by the website. Just only makes sense.
Inception.
Yeah, that only makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
John, there's no way that's your story. So
Yeah. Mine's kind of typical. So I'm John. I'm from Louisiana, and I'm a second year in Philadelphia. Let's see. My story, basically, I just know alumni. I knew a couple people when I was in college at the time and had different plans to go and work. But basically, somebody just told me about Christ in the City, and I was like, you know what? I'm looking for something radical to do. And I think this is like the perfect option for me, not having like any experience in homeless ministry whatsoever. And I thought it was just a great opportunity to like kind of discover what it's about, like who I am and like what God is calling me to.
So what was your degree in?
So I was a kinesiology major.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like pre-med, pre-PT, a lot of
pre-things.
A lot of
pre-things.
Yeah.
Pre-things, yes. No, wow, you guys couldn't have had different degrees. That's awesome. I did not realize it was that diverse here. And John is one of our missionaries. We have a good crew this year and last year who did a first year in Denver and then came to Philadelphia. So, John, what was that switch for you like? I mean, the cities are quite different. Every community, every soul is just so different. So, share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever I was in Denver, the transition to go over to Philadelphia was a bit of a shock because I know it was going from the mountains, like these beautiful like white caps mountains and the Rockies, and then you're just going to like the East Coast, and it's like, wow, what's in the East Coast besides like history and maybe a little bit of culture? I don't know.
Maybe a little bit.
I think that's where the country started. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely hard at first. The change in community, the change in the like Philadelphia community first. but ministry still like stayed the same, I would say.
Yeah.
Like you still find Christ in the city in both places. Yeah, I think the spirit just kind of continues on wherever you go. But the people definitely change. Like I just remember one of my first street walks here, it was just like rejection after rejection. It wasn't like a simple like, oh, hey, like I'm not like wanting to talk today. It was just like a straight up like, to be honest, get the hell out of my face. And I'm like, you know what? I respect that. Like that's very honest.
We don't get that in Denver. We don't get that in the West. You know, everyone's so nice. It's not get the hell out of my face. It's, hey, I'm good. Thanks for coming. You know, it's like totally different.
Yeah, it was good. They're very candid, and honestly, it's taught me to be a little bit more honest myself too.
Yeah,
I think I've adapted to be a little bit more East Coast and like to the point. Yes, blunt.
Yeah. So, Allison, for you, it's unique when other missionaries in other cities that serve, you know, the homeless are usually a lot of travelers. For Philadelphia, one thing the missionaries encounter a lot is locals. You know, if you're in other places, we do ministry, Denver, we've been to Los Angeles, even the South, all these places, you know, you ask where someone's from and you don't expect local. In Philly, that's not the case, right? There's a lot of people, I'm sure you know the neighborhoods you're meeting people from. They're in your backyard. They're your fellow Philly metro, you know, people. How has that been? What's your process been of receiving that?
Yeah, honestly, I love it. I love it because being able to like ask people that question and then to hear that they're like homegrown Philadelphians, we immediately have like so many things in common. For one, sports are huge here. Like,
yeah, they are.
You have to know like what's going on in sports to be able to like shoot the breeze on the streets with people.
Yeah.
And it's been great. And like even to hear people are from Jersey or from like the suburbs of Philadelphia, and to be like, oh my gosh, like I've heard of that town, or I've been there before. Like, have you ever been to this place? And like just to start to build like a foundational level of relationship there, because it's like, okay, I'm meeting you on level ground.
Yeah.
There's a lot of relatability.
Yeah, so it isn't necessarily oh my gosh, this is hard. It's almost like I got a foot in.
Oh,
you know, compared to this Louisiana boy John, you know, Cajun at heart.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that is a lot different.
Yeah, it's been great. Really.
I almost envision it like in Philly, someone needs to just like stand up at the front of the room and read like the newspaper days of old. Like, all right, in local Philly sports, we had the Phillies score here, the Sixers in the playoffs, you know.
Yeah.
And the Eagles drafted. Yeah, that's yeah, you're right though. It is a big deal here.
It really is.
The Gospels tell us like, you know, be all things to all people, and it's like this reality of like, yeah, it's not better dive into those Philly sports. Right? Like, you know, it's going to give that familiarity, and I love it.
Yeah. You've almost had to like adapt to know the culture and to know like what is the history and the places to be and like the neighborhoods that are good and that are not good. Because I think when you come to people with the sort of like, I know where you're coming from and like I know where you've been, they let their guard down a little bit.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you're one of us in a sense.
Yeah. Where like they don't have to describe it, right? Maybe if it's a place they're proud of or not proud of.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to describe it.
It's funny because for me, I like being on the other side of it and being like, oh yeah, well, I like the Saints and everything. And then Allison and whoever can just like team up on me. And then that's like a connection right there because they're just like,
oh, that's funny.
Battling against
John is the enemy.
It's a good balance for sure.
John is the enemy.
Yeah.
So you two are on the Street Route Convention Center in Philly. How many different routes are there? 5?
5 different routes.
Yeah.
Correct.
5 different routes in Philly, and you're on one of them called the Convention Center. So how many people on your team? What's the flavor of your team? The flavor of your route? What's it looking like here on the streets of Philly at the Convention Center?
Yeah. So we have 4 people on our team. It's me, John, Andrea, and Jay. And Convention Center, I like to say it has a little bit of a bite to it, I think.
It does.
That's about Philly for you.
That's true. That's so true. Philly in a nutshell. Convention Center is like, gosh, it's like condensed Philly. We've got a couple of hot spots on our route. We are around the Reading Terminal Market, and that's like a really big tourist spot for a lot of people when they come to Philly. It's like this indoor kind of like farmers food market, really popular place for some people to hang around. And then if you go a little bit further down our route, you'll hit Chinatown, and that place is so busy, so busy. There's a lot of tourists there, also more outdoor food markets. And then the last spot that you get to on our route is called Ray Street. And one of the big areas there is St. John's Hospice, and it's a men's overnight shelter. So we have a lot of friends who actually like live there, and then friends who will just like hang out outside, and they do lunch every single day during the week. So we'll go there on Fridays and hang out with some people.
So a lot of foot traffic, both from, our homeless brothers and sisters as well as tourists, which really makes for an interesting dynamic. Like that is, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. So you asked about the flavor, Blake.
Yeah. Chinese food.
I guess so. Yeah, we're both pretty we're all pretty active. We're just kind of on the go. We've been described as the frat squad. Yeah. So we both had a frat snap.
Oh my god.
We both I don't know, the way we talk to people are just so chill and so relatable, and I don't know, we just can relate a lot to people out there, I think, because we're just the most chillest.
Yeah, chill team. Which is unique because it's high paced.
Yeah.
Right? From all the routes, your route may have the most foot traffic.
Yeah, I would say that it probably does. I think it's funny in our debriefs, sometimes we'll sit down and be like, all right, let's first run through all of the people that we talked to, because it's amazing if we talk to less than 7 people in one day, I think. And I don't think that every route could necessarily.
No, not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah, I mean, those are some high energy, high pace environments, street markets, as well as tourist areas, as well as.
Yeah. And it's been interesting being received, I think, by some of the tourists, because a lot of the times we're just sitting on the sidewalk, on these really heavily trafficked areas in the city. I can think of Chinatown in particular. We have one friend who sits there religiously every day. And we'll go and just sit on the side of the road with him. And the amount of people who just stop and stare at us for a couple of seconds and then keep walking is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of our good friends, Joel, out there. And he's interesting story. He's been doing that for 7 years, I want to say.
Wow.
And before that, he was a cook in California. He's from the Poconos, which is in upstate Pennsylvania. But now he just sits, and he's kind of closed off at first. I'm not gonna lie. When we first met him, he was just giving us a little bit at a time, and it was the same stories over and over again. And then eventually, I think we just got to a point where we were just very direct with him, and that's the thing with people. They want to be very direct. And he started sharing a little bit more about his life, and we actually took him on a couple of accompaniments. He actually led us to a place that he wanted to go, and it was in Chinatown, and he was yes, it's this great Korean barbecue place, and we're oh, we're probably about to eat some pretty good local Chinatown food. And what they had was just basically fried chicken on a sandwich.
You were Joel, what the heck? All the things that could have taken us in Chinatown.
Wow, that is a curveball.
Yeah.
Man. So tell us a little bit more about Joel.
So Joel is from the Poconos. He is an only child, I want to say. And so his dad left his family at a very early age. And his mom is hospice or maybe in assistant living location in Pennsylvania. And I'm not sure if they're on good terms.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We've asked him a couple times, hey, Joel, when's the last time you talked to your mom or were in contact with your mom? And he was I call her every once in a while. I hear her voice and I hear her pick up the phone and say hello, and then I immediately hang up. He's all I want to know is that she's okay. So it sounds like they don't really have much of a relationship, except that he he knows that she's good, and that's it.
But he clearly cares.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Joel. He doesn't ever show too much emotion.
Yes.
If we ask him a very direct question about how were you feeling when XYZ happened, or in this situation, he rarely answers with a very direct oh, I was frustrated, or I was angry, or I was upset.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dancing around, and I think there's a lot of just deep-seated things from his childhood that he has never really healed.
I mean, that's so much of our story, right? We love to be a little jaded or a little brutish in some ways, just to protect that, just to hide that, and it is risky. You know, it's so impressive, just even the little ways you've gotten in with him this year. How does a guy like Joel? Have you ever talked about being on the streets with him while so many people walk by and look at you, or any conversations come up around that?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like we've asked him why Chinatown, like why this part of the city where, you know, there's like a bunch of markets and people just staring at you, and it doesn't seem to actually bother him. I think he likes blending into the crowds. He likes just like being one with like the wall and like the ground, and we always like see him in the seated position, and he's just kind of like, I want to say just like a blob. And it wasn't, I guess, until like we took him on an accompaniment, I was like, wow, this man has like life. Like, he got up and started walking. I'm like, well, I'd never realized like how, I was like, short you were.
It's like, well, you can walk. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, or even seeing someone's gait, right? Like seeing the way they walk, the way they carry themselves. It's one where it is an interesting experience.
Correct.
Yeah, Joel's been an interesting relationship. We've known him the entire year, one of our most consistent friends. At the beginning, I remember having conversations like with the team being like, okay, like another encounter with Joel where he told us the same 3 stories over and over again. And we've kept pursuing him, kept persevering. And like, we've definitely seen progress in the ways that he's opened up to us and gotten more comfortable with us for sure.
Totally.
Not necessarily wanting to like blend in enough so that we don't see him, you know, like he wants us to be with him.
Yeah, right. We want people, even if we don't. You know, it's that really unique moment. There's always so many stories from street teams and just this reality of ministry. So any stories from this year that you two think of the most or talk about the most?
Gosh, we got a few like standout ones.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think, so we know this woman named Crystal, who sits by the wall along Reading Terminal Market. And she always has this cart with her, and it's always just like filled with trash, like just empty plastic bottles, which I'm sure she like goes to recycle. And she's always asking for like a tarp to kind of like just protect herself. She's always wearing like a trash bag. But those first couple encounters like were a little tough because they were just, again, super vague, kind of off topic, didn't really make sense. And so we brought a Sudoku book out, and we just, I don't know if you remember how it went, but I think we just straight up asked her, like, do you like to play any games? Do you like to play Sudoku? And she was like, I don't know. We just kind of were just like, let's bring it out, you know? We just kind of like tossed it on the ground. I'm like, oh, it kind of fell out. Look at that. Yeah. Like,
wow.
Oh, why don't we just kind of look through this and everything?
Wow.
And so we actually taught her how to play Sudoku. And she has beautiful handwriting.
That's fun.
Yeah. And so we were kind of like teaching her. And literally like just a couple days ago, we actually taught her to do a crossword puzzle too. And her handwriting, that's when I noticed her handwriting was really good.
Yeah.
Very clear, concise.
Yeah. Relationship with Crystal has been so funny because the first couple of times, like every time we would go up to her, she would be like, where are you guys going today? Like, when are you going to leave?
That is so filling. So when are you going to get out of here?
That was always like the first question. And she's always big on saying like, I got to make donations today. You know, she never says like, I'm trying to make money or anything. Like, I have to make donations today. And so it's just been funny, like approaching her and being like, Crystal, we came to find you, you know, like you're the person that we want to spend time with. And for one of the first times yesterday, the other day when we were sitting with her doing the crossword puzzle, well, she pulled out all these newspapers. She was like, hey, we can all do one.
Aww.
So we were doing the crossword puzzles together. And at the end, she was like, thank you guys for sitting with me. Like, thank you for spending time with me. Which is like, gosh, the first time that she'd ever like recognized that, we were spending time with her. And that's all that we wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is so slow. I think that's one where, you know, coming in so optimistic, big eyes as a missionary, you're like, this is going to just be smooth. I'm going to change some lives out here. And it's like, it can be disheartening, right? Especially with the rejection, Crystal asking you, hey, so where are you guys going next? And when are you getting out of my hair? You know, it's like, how have you found your own dispositions towards that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I even know yesterday when we were on the streets, we faced a lot of rejection. There was a lot of rejection even on our own route. But I think at this point in the year, the thing that we've really been prioritizing is those friends, those people who we have invested in and who we can genuinely say are our friends, and we've built a relationship with them. Knowing that when we go out onto the streets, it's not a quota game. You know, we don't have to say hi to every single person, and that means that it's been a good day. You know, we had a mission. We were like, we want to go sit with our friend Howard yesterday because we knew him. We were spending time with him, and like we had received a few rejections before then, but it was like, it's okay. Like, we don't know necessarily what all of these people are going through. They could just be having a really tough day. And knowing that there is something within them that's like a lot deeper than just get out of my face.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that, right? Like, we don't go to be accepted. You know, that's not the goal. It's like, okay, was I accepted today? Did I meet my quota of people saying hi? It's like, no, you could be rejected almost every single time, you know, but at this point in the year, the beautiful thing is, you know, you're going out and you're probably going to be shot down. At the same time, we hang on to those other relationships, the ones that have been built through the rejections. You know, it's like the crystals, the jewels, the ones that we've been rejected by time and time again. And then we see, here we are. And isn't that so much like the Lord in our lives, right? Of like, all right, I'm going to keep coming. You rejected me again, but the Lord never stops. And it's so good.
It's like the first bit of fruit you can see after planting that seed like so many weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, the spring seed planting. It's such a good metaphor. So you guys said you kind of laughed at quite a few stories. What are some other ones that you've enjoyed or stick out from this year?
Yeah, I just thought of one of our friends, Michael, and I think it was actually me and Allison and a mission trooper who actually met him. So we had mission trips in March, and one of the women who came out was from Georgia, and we get talking with Michael, and he's from Philly, but he has family in Georgia, and so he started like connecting with like the mission trooper, and we were like, oh, this is perfect, you know? We just like greatly desired to have like a connection. And he kind of gives us these eyes. Like he always like looks at us, but like looks at us to the side of his eye, like he's like, we think he's like suspicious of us.
He probably is.
Yeah. I think I literally said to him one time, I was like, Michael, are you suspicious of us? Like, what's going on?
And it was pretty funny because like he did it most of the time in the first conversation that we had. And each time when we kept coming back, he gets a little bit less suspicious. Like he still like gives us a little bit of eye.
Yeah.
But we know like he started to like enjoy our company. And I'm not gonna lie, we've been trying to maybe like play cards with him. We have like a deck of Uno cards in our bag. But you know, he kind of like gives it like an excuse, like, oh, he has to do his like banking. Or today's just like not a good day. And we're like, yeah, like we totally get that. It's okay to have bad days, Michael. Yeah.
But continuing to show up. I think one of the battles that we've had with Michael recently is that we walked up to him the other day and he was like, the goodies are here, like the snack bags and the water bottles and things like that. So it's trying to make that shift, I think, from, you know, what we preach about at Grayson City all the time is the transactional relationship versus like the actual relationship.
Yeah.
You know, just like a genuine relationship. So trying to make that shift with him will be interesting.
But it can be tough.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so much, we're so used to transactional relationships in our lives, and it's such a paradigm shift, but worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think from now on, when I see the two of you, I'm seriously going to ask, so when are you leaving? What are you doing next?
Where are you headed to?
Where are you headed? What you got next? When are you going to leave me?
Love Crystal. We laugh when she says that now because we're just like, this was our destination.
You got me.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like so habit for her to like say that to just people on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know?
Any other fun stories that come to mind?
Yeah. There was one the other week. We met this woman. Her name was Maria. And so there's this cool organization outside of one of the family shelters on our route. They're called ACT UP. And they come out, I don't know if it's every day or every Friday, but we typically see them on Fridays. And they just give out coffee and snacks and things like that. They're fighting a lot of the injustices against those who are homeless in the city. So we're good friends with a lot of those guys. And there was a woman that we met when we were hanging out with them the other week. Her name was Maria. And at first glance, you would never have known that Maria was living on the streets. Like, she looked very clean, like very put together. And so one of our teammates, Andrea, like started talking with her, listening to her story and like how she got to where she was. And Andrea out of the blue was like, do you want to go get coffee? Do you want to just go hang out? And so we did. We went to Reading Terminal. It was me, John, and Andrea that day. And we sat down with Maria inside Reading Terminal for, gosh, well over an hour, I think, just hearing her story. And it was incredible to hear because this woman was a neurosurgeon.
Whoa.
She had gone to med school and she had been successful, but her entire life was battling a drug addiction.
Wow.
Just like flying under the radar with this crippling addiction. And it finally caught up to her. She lost a lot of people in her life, like through deaths. I think there were a couple car accidents.
Yeah, there's like at least 3.
Jeez.
Where she was like involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was just like, it was amazing to see how quickly she was able to open up to us.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by that.
I mean, you could tell that all of this stuff was just what she was like bottling up inside. You know? And she just needed to get it out. She had been recently kicked out of a shelter. So that's why she was living on the streets. And I remember at the very end of the conversation, she was like, wow, it feels really good to be treated like a human being today.
Yes.
Man.
I was like, dang.
It feels really good to be treated like a human being today. Coming from a neurosurgeon.
Right.
Really.
Right.
Coming from a former neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I just like remember that was like a really hard conversation to leave because we just wanted to stick with her the whole day. I mean, yeah, she was just so human.
Yeah.
So she invited us into her life. And it was just like, man, I want to share about my life so bad with you too. We're still in contact with her too. Like we got her like phone number and everything.
Oh, that's great.
We want to plan to like go see her again.
Yeah.
Man,
So that's the plan.
you never know who you're going to meet on the streets.
And their stories are crazy.
You never know. Their stories are just as creative as the human experience, right? It's like we are all created uniquely, and it can seem hokey or too fake or whatever you want to call it, or fruity or whatever. But it's like, no, you hear these things and it's like the journey. Our lives are novels, right? In each different chapter, and even for Maria, it's not over.
Yeah.
This novel is not over.
I think one of the most beautiful things that I've learned just being out on the streets is being able to see the whole human person because of their story, knowing what they went through and the experiences that have shaped them to be the person that they are today. It's impossible to look at someone and to only see their addiction, or to only see that they're dirty, or to only see, oh, it says on their sign that they're homeless. And I can see that with other people in my own personal life. You have to see the whole person, what they've been through, how they got to where they are.
Absolutely.
No matter like how many times you get to like know a person, you still don't like even like know them fully, you know, like they're still like on this like journey. Yeah, their future is gonna change them. And I'm just like thinking about back to like my friends, just like back at home, like people I knew like from school or work. And it's like, man, I didn't know what was going on in these people's lives, you know? I didn't know how deep they were, you know? It was just acquaintance or like a just coworker kind of friendship. With doing homeless ministry, that's where I've learned that they're inviting us into like our life. I should do the same. I should invite them into my life also.
Yeah.
Man is like a full gift of himself, right?
Yeah. I really think that's the key that I've learned to loving people this year, is getting to know who they are as a whole person.
Yeah, looking at the whole. It can be so easy to be distracted by a part.
Yes.
Right? Like the part can seem so glaring. The part can seem so fooling sometimes, right? Of like, there's no way someone who's gone to school, a neurosurgeon, could be struggling with something like that. Or there's no way they could go down that path.
Yeah, because I know that a lot of people out on the streets also think that this one part of their life is all that they are. Like, I am a homeless man, or I am an addict. Very quick story. We were meeting with this friend. His name was Steve, and we were doing a crossword puzzle.
Are you guys the crossword puzzle crew?
So was Mike.
It's
just a great sidewalk
friendly
activity.
Tool.
Yeah, it's great. But we were doing a puzzle with him, and he, out of the blue, was like, "Oh, I have one." Steve was the clue, and the answer was an alcoholic. And I just remember that like broke my heart in the moment, and just so desperately wanting him to know that that was not all that he was.
Oh, man. That's the first thing he thought of when he thought of himself. That was his identifier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And it's like, how are you going to be able to see yourself any differently if other people don't?
Yeah.
As well,
Yeah.
Because that is probably how he's been treated. Right? And it's like, and it's our role as Christians for everyone we meet to say, no. Yeah. Like, literally, nope. That's not it. Like, there's deeper. Wow. Boy, convention center is a route.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a route.
We love it.
It's funny because, like, yeah, it's a little mix of, like, chaos, but then also just, like, very simplistic, I guess. I don't know how to describe simplistic. Yeah, it's, like, easygoing and then a little chaotic. Depending on which street you're on, you could see, like, the changes.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you too, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for, letting us in a little bit to the flavor of Convention Center and your team. And we thank you for your mission. I think, gosh, there's so many themes here, but I think the big is look at the whole person. Don't let a part define you or someone else in your life. Believe in the goodness of the novel, the full story. I love that. See deeper.
And let it change how you see every single person in your life, even yourself.
Oh, yeah. Maybe even first and foremost yourself.
Yeah.
John, Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Blake.
Yeah.
To all you listeners, thank you so much. What wise words from these two. And may, as we go forward, may we all be kind of convicted of that, to see ourselves as more than just the part that comes up first or that we're struggling, seems to be glaring. Thank you, guys. God bless you all, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on Homeless But Human today. In order to keep producing this content for you all, we invite you to consider joining our known and loved monthly giving community. This is one of the most impactful ways that you can join us on mission. Your monthly gift sends missionaries out to the streets day after day and helps us to continue recording and sharing our podcast. It's our vision that every city not only has soup kitchens and shelters, but communities who are committed to helping the homeless know that they have a home in us. And what is home but a small taste of Christ's infinite love? Visit christinthecity.org and make a monthly gift today to join our known and loved community. And if you enjoyed today's episode, do us a favor and go hit subscribe and leave a review. To get more involved with the mission, visit christinthecity.org.